talking about transparency, it's hard for me at least to be transparent about everything, because there are a long list of insecurities that I have that it's not something I want to go out and be public about. But I think sort of embracing who you are and saying that, hey, I have these insecurities, but that doesn't make me any less of a person. It doesn't make me at any kind of disadvantage. It's like, you got to embrace it. You got to say, hey, this is my life, and I'm gonna take it in stride and go forward.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to learn. It's tough to do. It's not as easy as getting up and saying, hey, this is, I'm Regan Sink. Here is everything that's ever bothered me, and putting that public, because it's especially when it comes to the mental aspect of it. Depression has such a stigma around it still, and I think it's getting better slowly. But people that are depressed don't exactly want to go and broadcast how they feel emotionally, because people see that and they attack it. They latch onto it, and it's like, well, you shouldn't be depressed. Just don't be depressed. Just smile. It's not that simple.
Yeah, and that is a great point. And to that point, like, I've had moments where I have been depressed, especially so with chronic illness, depending on which type you have, and everybody's different. Mine has progressed, and not in a good way. So, like, it makes it even more difficult, because there are days where you're like, oh wow, I'm getting, like, today's an okay day, and then boom, this uptick in pain and symptoms, and symptoms that most people don't even have, that probably have my condition. And it's like, I know. It's like I know
exactly how that feels. I'm going through that right now, actually. So it's a challenge, but I hope what I'm going through right now is temporary. It's nothing major, just some weakness. But with the nature of my disease, is you get weaker over time, you atrophy, and it's tough. You don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow and be significantly weaker than you were yesterday. It's scary, but at the same time, it's like, I know what to do. I've got knowledge on the disease. I've got knowledge on my needs and my necessities. So it helps make it a little bit easier, but it still doesn't take it away,
Yeah, I hear you. And and I'm sure you are probably aware of this, is that just as no two people with the same disability have the same experience, no two people in this world have the same experience.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes I think the media, unfortunately, has done a disservice to the disability community and how we're represented, because there's so much diversity in our experiences and within the community itself. Like, it's amazing.
I absolutely agree. I think that it's something that has been on my mind a lot lately, and something that's really bugged me is that in the United States, at least, the media and even the politicians, there is very little emphasis on disabled people. It's almost, in my feeling, we are an afterthought, and it hurts. It's like, I am for equality in every sense of the word, but I don't feel like we are getting the same treatment as people with disabilities as a lot of others. And it's like, help us out, pay attention, like, understand us. Don't be ignorant to what we go through.
Yeah. You mentioned something really important, because I feel the same way. Like, every year since before I was able to vote, I was kind of a kid that would, like, kind of sit in on some of the debates. And if you watch on certain news outlets, there's like a panel on the side that highlights the issues they're going to be asked about. And every 4 years, I'm sitting there waiting to see something related to disability rights or anything like that, because contrary to popular belief, the largest minority in this country is made up of people with disabilities, and the largest minority in the entirety of this world are people with a disability.
But I think it comes back to what you said, is there's a lot of invisible disabilities and people just don't notice it. I don't think that I don't think people, you know, in regards to the media and to the politicians, are sort of brushing over disabled people to be mean. I think it's that it's misunderstood to an exponential degree.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think a large portion of why I do what I do is because I want to bring visibility to that.
Absolutely.
And you know, the whole premise of this podcast, while I have done episodes by myself, but the reason I bring on dope people like you and others is because I want to put a face to these disabilities. I want people to hear the voice of the person in the supermarket who is using a cane for mobility purposes or for navigating the world around it. I want people to get that every person in a power chair or a wheelchair, you know, is an individual and not someone who's just taking a ride through the supermarket. So
exactly.
like putting visibility and stories to these things is extremely important